All right, welcome to another episode of JP Tech Talks. We're going to be talking about Adobe Photoshop and how it can be combined with Adobe Premiere Pro to make really cool little basic videos. So this is our Basics of Photoshop, Basics of Premiere Pro tutorial. Let's get going. I'm going to jump right into Adobe Premiere Pro and show you what the finished product is going to look like, and then we'll back up and get going with the various different parts of the project. So enjoy that. This is going to be a little loud. Let's turn this down. So as you can see, we are creating a very simple, very basic little animation video. It's mostly text, has an image, and all of those elements were put together in Adobe Photoshop, which you're all familiar with, and then we brought it into Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'm going to minimize Premiere Pro, go into Photoshop, and talk to you about this. So I'm going to close this. We'll start over from scratch. So just as a refresher for those of you jumping in with us on, maybe this is your first video watching our stuff, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Photoshop, obviously they're all Adobe programs and they work really well together. They live in the same world of Adobe. I'm just going to put myself in the other corner of the screen here so that I'm not in the way of buttons that we need to look at. And we're going to create a new project here. So whenever we're creating a new project that is video related, Adobe has these wonderful little templates in the film and video section. So all of these presets, super handy depending on what you're doing. We're not obviously doing 4K stuff today, or 8K. My goodness, I didn't even realize they had 8K stuff. We are going to stick with HDTV though for right now. So 1080p, YouTube ready. This is what we're starting with. So click on that preset. It's going to allow us to have all the different stuff we need for it. When we hit create, we get to start with a brand new white document here. So this obviously is not red. We're going to make a red background. The easiest way that I know of is just to simply use the paint bucket tool, old school paint, and we're going to clunk it in there. But we need to make sure that red is there. By default, your Adobe will start with black and white, or whatever the last color is that you used when you were last in Adobe. So we're going to double click on the palette here. We are going to use our JP Rebel Red. So we're going to use 26, 100, 100, and 0. Now I know that we are in an RGB world and we are using RGB color tones for our mode, but I only memorized the CMYK equivalent to the JP Red, so we're going to go with that. It does an auto conversion for us. Photoshop is pretty smart, gives us the color that's the best match in the RGB world, and away we go. When we click, we now fill the entire background with red, and that is step one done. Our next step is to create our image and stick it in there. So we're going to do a file place linked, and we're going to have to hunt around a little bit for the image. I happen to know that I stuck it on my desktop, so it'd be easy to find. It's this image 7571, and it is just a picture of yourself. So for this project, you're going to have a lovely portrait. Hopefully you've taken one or had someone take one in the past of you, and you can certainly use any photo that you have available. Just something nice that's flattering of yourself, and you want to make yourself feel good, but also have other people see the best side of you. So when you, I should have, hang on, made the same mistake this morning doing this. So when you do file place, we pick our image, place it into the image. In order to stop transforming your image, so you can grab these corners, I can scale it however I want. In Photoshop, the newer versions of Photoshop, the default is to have this scale proportionately. If you didn't want to scale it proportionally for some reason, you have to hold the Shift key on your keyboard, and now you can make a big mess of something. But for people, we definitely don't want to scale them unproportionate, so this is a much better way to do it. I've created my image now. Now to stop transforming, you can hit enter on the keyboard, or you can hit this check mark up at the top here. I'm going to hit enter. I like to use the shortcuts as best as possible. And that gives me my lovely little image of myself. And the next step is to create a border around it just to create some separation. So we go to our effects at the bottom here. We're going to hit stroke, and we are going to use a 10-point stroke to give ourselves a nice thick border around the outside of our image. And once that is completed, obviously by default it's in black. You could make it in other colors if you were doing a different project, but for what we're doing right now for today, we're sticking with the JP colors, and we're going to do black as our accent. Select OK, and that will add that effect in. Now the next step is to have 3 sets of text. So we are going to do 3 separate text boxes. So we're going to click up here. So I've clicked the text tool. We simply click close to the top here. Now I did this tutorial a little while ago, and I've already set the font size to be 100 points. That's a good starting point. And I've already set the font to impact, a nice big bold type of font. But what I haven't set, because we created a new document, is the color of the text. By default, it's whatever this color palette is set at. So I need to click in here, select this to white, push OK. Adobe has some lovely filler text that it uses for us to get our positioning and stuff. We can double click in here now and highlight this, and we're just going to type in our new words. So we're going to go Adobe Premier Pro, and we'll say basics. Okay. If you want, I can double click in here. Actually, I'm going to put this on a different line. There we go. And then that gives me the opportunity to make this a little bit bigger. So Control T on the keyboard brings up my transformation. I can scale this, make Adobe Premiere Pro Basics just a little bit bigger. My apologies. We will get into here. So another text box. So text, click text tool, and this is just going to be our name. Well, your name, technically. This is my name. And put my name in there. Again, I'm going to Control T and just scale this up just a little bit. In the previous video that you saw as the example, I used a funny font here. You won't all have this one, but I saw it and thought, hey, Christmas. Christmas is a long time away. Or long gone, I should say, but why not have some fun? So we use this funny little font. And I will, oh, what is going on? There we go. And lastly, we jump into the last box here, and this is going to be your title. So in my case, it is teacher, and I work at Jasper Place. Okay, so center that again. So we are chugging along quite nicely. We have our what looks like a pretty much a finished document. The one last step would be to save this document. So we're going to do a file, save as, and we are going to save this. Make sure that you're saving it into a drive or directory that you know where it is. I've been saving a bunch of different things into this same folder, and I am going to save this as Adobe Premiere Pro image. And away we go. Oh, it's gonna, oh no, that's good. Yeah, Adobe Premiere Pro image. Hit save, and it will save this Adobe file for me, and we are off to the races. So I'm not going to close this yet. I'm just going to minimize it for now. I'm just going to hit minimize, and then we'll go back into Premiere Pro. In Premiere Pro, we're going to also select a new document. So we're going to go File, New Project. Whoa. This new project needs to have a name. So we're going to name this as call it Adobe Premiere Pro Basics. And you need to make sure you know where this is saving. So you go to browse. We're going to browse to the same folder as all of the other stuff. Right? So this should change. Should be F drive. If you have a ComTech folder, put it in your ComTech folder, right? All the other sort of details and stuff, we don't touch any of them. They're all just the basic standard stuff. Hit OK. This gives us a new import media section, so a new project. Excuse me. The previous projects, I'm going to close these so they get out of our way. What we need to first do, the first step, is we need to import into the project our Adobe Photoshop document that we made. So we're going to simply double click in this bottom square. Actually, I should back up. If your browser or if your Adobe Premiere Pro doesn't look like this, I am in the editing version. So I've clicked on this editing tab and it resets all the panels to be the editing specific one. Excuse me. Double check here, double click I should say. We need our Adobe Premiere Pro image, which is the one we just created. Push open. A little window is going to pop up and it's going to ask you, do you want to merge all the layers or keep it separate? And we want individual layers so we can edit all of these independent of each other. So we're going to hit OK. It brings in a nice little folder for us. I'm going to double click on this folder so that we open it up and you can see all the different elements that we have to work with. So we've got our background, our image, and our 3 sets of text. The last thing we need to do in order to create this is get some audio. Now I've already previously gone to the Ben Sound website and I downloaded a piece of audio, this Hey sound. bensound.com is a royalty-free deal. You can find all kinds of different audio clips and stuff. They're pretty straightforward. A lot of them, there is some that you need to purchase. There's a bunch that are free, and really they only just ask that you give them a credit in your YouTube video that you use it in. So it's a great little website that I found that seems to work fairly smoothly so far. Obviously, if you have a way to get other music or you want to make your own music, by all means do that too. We're just going to double click here though and bring in that Ben Sound song so that we have it ready to rock when we need it. The first step to creating our video here is to make a new sequence, which is what it's called. I'm going to do a new sequence, a little trick. I'm just going to bring this background and drop it into here, and it automatically creates a new sequence. If you look, this is our new sequence, right? So this is our background clip, and then a sequence has a different little icon thing. It looks like almost looks like a family tree kind of deal. So the sequence here is all set and ready to go. It's got the right settings of our image. I am going to also drop the picture of myself on a new layer, not over top. If I put it over top, it'll erase the red, and now I'm left with just the picture of myself, which is what I don't want. So we need to put it on the layer above. And because it's a Photoshop document and because it properly broke apart the layers, they're transparent and they fit beautifully. So all I have to do is drop in the various different layers. If you notice, layers 4 and 5, it automatically creates those when I drop it in above the top video layer. You could have 100 layers if you really wanted. They would all just keep stacking on top of each other. I am going to move myself down to the bottom corner here. In Adobe, it's better if I'm down here. So, moving right along, we're going to toss our sound into the audio layers in the bottom. And I am going to shorten this just a bit, just because I'm sick of listening to the first 30 seconds of the song over and over and over. So there's our sound. I'm going to turn it down just a pinch. Perfect. And then generally we want to make the back end of the clip similar length to what we're working in. Now, I just quickly did that, but this slider bar here is your zoom. So what it does is it centers on this, what I call laser beam pointer thing. So if I have the laser beam over here, when I first move this, it's going to bring that to the middle, right? And then it'll just continue to zoom in on that point. If it gets, once it gets bigger than that little space, then it obviously just keeps sliding along. So you can make it really small or nice and big. In our case, we just need to be able to see where these end. We're going to leave them at that spot for now, and we're going to actually make these all a little bit longer. Excuse me, let's make them all longer. So just click, select them all. We need them to be about 9 to say, let's say 10 seconds. It's not a long video. Extend our audio just a little past the end. And then we will, here's a fun little, this slip tool. If you use this slip tool, it actually helps, you can bring clips along depending on which way you click on them. So maybe you're like, maybe I do want to start at the beginning of the song. You can actually, without making it longer or shorter, you can just slide the clip along inside that little box. Yeah, that's better. So now we don't want everything to just appear all at the exact same time. That'd be kind of a lame video. It's already lame enough as it is. So what we want to do is these 4 need to be a bit shorter. These 3 need to be a bit shorter. These 2 a bit shorter. And this last one, the shortest. Okay, now I could go in and I could do all kinds of crazy editing techniques and stuff with each layer that I select. Up in the top here, we have our source clip tab and our effects controls. So whenever you click on a different item in your video, this effects controls will change based on whatever item you selected. So if I selected this second layer, the picture of me, I could go in here and I could keyframe. So frame by frame, I could go in here and I could adjust the motion, all kinds of different crazy things. So I'll show you quickly what that would mean. So if I keyframed the position, the scale, and maybe the opacity. So right now it's full go, but if I move this a little bit ahead, and then I moved the picture of me over to the side, and maybe I rotated it. Oh, hang on. If I rotated it, I could also make it smaller, and I could change the opacity. Okay, it's gonna like animate all of that stuff for me automatically. So it's now makes it fade. I could take these little spaces, I could move them down, the keyframes, to be a different spot, different location. So now it's going to fade slower. In this case though, all of this is a little bit overkill. We don't need to do any of this kind of stuff. We don't actually need to do anything other than what the fancy default transitions are that are built right into Adobe Premiere Pro. So we're going to find those basic transitions underneath in the panel here that says effects. So if I click on the effects panel, I've got like hundreds of different transitions. So depending on if I'm working on the audio or the video, will determine what transition I want to use. In this case, the background Premiere Pro image, we want this to fade in nicely, not just be on. So we're going to go to our video transitions. We're going to go to dissolve. We can use a dip to black in this case. So it starts with black, and it's going to be a nice little fade in to that red background. And then similarly, this picture of myself, which needs to be reset. Put all this stuff back where it should be. There we go. The next picture of myself, we want it to kind of slide from the left all the way to the right. So they have a transition for that. And it is called a wipe. I think it's just, oh no wait, it's the whip. Excuse me, the whip transition. Right? Super fast. The Adobe Premiere Pro Basics, we are going to pick another transition. You can pick what you want. I'm going to try this push one, see what it does. Oh, that's perfect. Pushes it in from the side. And then maybe we'd use a page peel on this middle one. Oh, that is so cheesy. We're not going to do that. What's a page turn look like? That's better. We don't need the big cheesy animation. And then lastly, let's find ourselves, let's see, what does this do? Perfect. Okay, so we have all of our elements come in together, and then we want them to fade out at the end together. So we are going to add a dissolve, a cross dissolve, to the end of all 5 of these. Okay. So they all fade out nicely. Our music has an automatic fade in from the manufacturer. It starts kind of smoothly. But our ending, we don't want it to be just this abrupt stop at the end. So we are going to quickly add in an audio transition specifically for fading. Now, a constant power fade keeps the volume pretty steady, and then kind of at the last couple seconds it turns it off. I like this exponential fade a little bit better. I feel like it's more natural. And it actually fades down a little more smoothly all the way to 0 instead of, sometimes the constant power one doesn't get all the way to 0. Constant power one though is great, however, when you're transitioning between 2 different clips and you need them to crossfade, it doesn't have a dip in volume when you get there. If you use the exponential one clip would get quiet and the other one would get louder, and we don't want that to be the case. So, but this is a great place at the end of a video to use one like that. So we'll watch it one more time. Oh, my head is in the way. Hang on, I put that here. I'm gonna move myself. I apologize. I put the exponential fade just at the end of the audio here, at the end of this audio track. So you should be able to see it now. There we go. Okay, so there we have it. We've taken Adobe Premiere Pro, or excuse me, we've taken Adobe Photoshop, created our basic document in Adobe Photoshop. We've brought that into Adobe Premiere Pro. We've animated it using some basic animation. Like I say, you could add twirls and spins and have your stuff bounce all over the screen, or we could just have it be really simple. And right now, simple works. The next step, or the last step, if you will, is to go up here to File. We want to go to Export, and we want to export our media. And this is where we take what is a project file that if you sent me your project file, I wouldn't be able to look at it at all. And we're going to render it down into one specific video file that we could send to anybody in the world. So formatting wise, we want to use the H.264, just this standardized kind of YouTube compression. There's tons of different presets in here, specifically for some of them for YouTube and stuff. In our case, we're just going to keep the match our sequence. We have good video clips. We don't have to change them or up compress them or do weird things like that. All these other sort of specifics are to do with the type of video. So this gives us all these different settings, but we're gonna match our sequence because our sequence is correct. We're not changing anything with this export. If we were gonna try to change stuff, you would make adjustments. You can make adjustments to the audio. There's a multiplexer thing to adding captions, lots of crazy stuff. In this case, we're just gonna keep it basic. We hit export. Oh, that was fast. Oh, that was just the sound. Okay, here it goes.
I need to use the computer. Please.
It rendered that out. You can't see it, it's kind of behind my head here, but there is an export thing that showed up saying that the video was finished. We're going to do a file save here to make sure our project is saved. And then the last step, we can open this up. And here should be our finished. Oh, wait a minute. We may have made a critical error. File. Export. Media. Okay. I forgot to change the name. It's a good learning experience for everybody. So we're going to click in here. This is where you would change the name of your video. So in this case, I'm fine with Adobe Premiere Pro, but let's label it as Mr. Wright. And that way, oh, that is not how you spell my name. This way, it's not going to get lost, and you'll be able to find it when you need it. This is actually the basics video. Hit save. Now it's saved. Now we export. And we are good to go. What? Why did it have an error? Let's try again. There we go. That's better. So now once we have it all done, we go find our video. Here's our video. So, hope you all enjoyed that little tutorial. Keeping it simple here for today. Nothing too crazy, just some basics in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere Pro. Once you've submitted this, you can submit this finished product to to Google Classroom and hand the assignment in, and then get on to the next assignment. Or we're going to do a basic video project doing basic different camera moves and camera shots. So, looking forward to next time. Have a great day.